Welcome back to another episode of Rail Industry Connected. I'm Dan Clark, and thank you for joining us. It's nearly here. Rolling Stock Networking is coming back to Derby on July the 3rd. Now in its 6th edition, and still free to attend, the event always provides a friendly and productive environment to help businesses win more work. It offers significant opportunities for networking, gaining industry insights, and showcasing innovations. It's a platform for professionals to connect, share knowledge, and explore new business opportunities within the rail sector. Today, we speak to Kevin Lane, organiser of RSN, to look ahead to some of the opportunities ahead of the event next week and identify some of the issues that the industry might solve connecting with each other in Derby. Kevin, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. We are now into the 6th edition. When I was writing that, I can't believe how quickly that's gone by. But I mean, you've had hundreds of exhibitors over that time, tens of thousands, if not more, visitors over the years. Why do you think that RSN stood the test of time as a standout event for the rolling stock community?
I think that Rolling Stock Networking is an unusual trade event insofar as it's delivered by a team of people that have got substantial experience in the rail industry. The entire team has had significant senior level roles in real railway companies, generally in sales, director, CEO roles. So we've been at the coalface in terms of our exposure to the rail industry. And I think that means we've got a firm understanding of what both exhibitors and visitors want from a trade show to make it relevant and valuable to delivering their own responsibilities in the industry. Coupled with that, RSN's not owned by a media company. Profit isn't our primary motive. We've all had successful careers in the railway industry, and perhaps it's time to pay some of that back. I think a key selling point is our central location in Derby, the low cost to exhibit, and the interest that the show has from new builders, tier ones, down to single employee entrepreneurs. I think we offer something to everyone. And we're an inclusive show where a micro company can find themselves exhibiting in the next stand to a multi-billion multinational.
I think that's what's really kind of stood out to me as well, as it is, you've got such a mix of people from different companies, different tiers, obviously within the supply chain, as you say. But actually the environment that's created there, it's always been it's always been welcoming. Everyone's, it's just there. Everyone's there for a chat. It doesn't feel like a hard sell as much all the time. And I think that's probably why it's been successful as it has, hasn't it?
I think that people like the relaxed, easygoing atmosphere, but the
Mhm.
frenetic pace of it is also something that's valuable. People get to see a lot of people, some they know, some they don't know. They make new contacts, they find new opportunities. It's the pace of the event that gives it a real buzz. And from the moment you walk through the door, there's a kind of an electric atmosphere. It seems to be contagious, and everybody seems very happy. You see so many smiling people. Um, the event does what it's supposed to do. It's a networking event. It helps people to come together for mutual benefit. Yeah. So I think you're right, Dan. It has got that sort of feel, that sort of vibe.
And obviously, we understand the amount of work that the exhibitors kind of putting into it, even the visitors, planning meetings and things like that. But actually, from an organizer's point of view, there's a hell of a lot of work, isn't there, that goes into organizing an event like this?
It's hard to say. I mean, we start the moment that we get home after the previous show. Um, but it's very important that the show has to remain relevant. We have to constantly adapt to the perpetual change in the industry. So we look to keep each edition of the show fresh, in touch with the
Mm.
industry, and reflective of the rail market at any given time. We're very grateful to everybody that helps us. I mean, this year we've got Railway Industry Association, Delta XD, Jobs and James. They're all providing content, market knowledge, technical expertise, procurement meeting opportunities. But it is important to us that we maintain our costs of exhibiting low so that,
Mm.
everybody gets an opportunity to shine. But from an organiser's perspective, what we do find is that communication is absolutely key to both visitors
Yeah.
and exhibitors. And we do hope that through the website, the emails we send out, the positive messages we send through LinkedIn, that people are informed of what they are likely to expect at RSN. And of course, platforms like Rail Industry Connect are absolutely invaluable to us because they
Thanks very
widen our
much.
reach.
No, that's it. It's all about the communication, as you say, and keeping people up to date with what's going on. I think that market knowledge point of view that you raised there is
Mm.
incredibly important. Is that one of the major factors that's important to you when you're developing an event like RSN? Is that the crux of it? Because obviously, I think everyone's responding to a very you know changing and adaptable marketplace.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. But if we look at the history of the railway, it's always been changing. It's never the same from one year to another. There
Mm.
are always developments that are occurring. I mean, it is a changing market, but it's a good market as well. So we're not in any way concerned about the direction of the marketplace at the moment. We think that it's going to develop and it's going to flourish.
So what can we expect from this year's RSN? You've alluded to working with RIA and Delta
Yeah, yeah.
and what have you, but what can visitors expect this year from the event?
Well, we really have managed to pull together an outstanding level of content. So essentially, they're going to have a fun packed conveyor belt of meetings, opportunities, information, and networking. It always amazes us that from the moment the show opens, there's a frenetic pace to the day. In terms of
Mm.
content this year, we've got, well, you can't miss the first exhibit. We've got an entire locomotive sitting just outside the door on a trailer that's provided by Reed Freight Services. The loco, which is produced by Positive Traction, was originally a Class 08 shunter that's been fully converted to battery power. Inside the door, as you walk in, we've got 153 exhibitors this year, including CAF, Stadler, Siemens Mobility, Unipart, Westermo, Rail Nova, Romic, and many, many more. And we generally say that if it exists, you'll find it at RSN. I mean, we've even got a BSB racing superbike on the Acrivea stand. At
Love
the
that.
rear of the hall, we've got the Jobson James Meet the Buyer with Alstom, Hitachi, Keolis, West Midlands Trains, and others that are ready to have meaningful discussions with the exhibitors. On the mezzanine level, I think we've mentioned this before, is the RIA conference. They've
Mm.
got a superb lineup of speakers this year that are bang on topic for the show. The conference is looking after the market, technology, real project experience. And we've got Siemens, Alstom, Freightliner, Angel Trains, Grand Central, Network Rail, and Alstom amongst the superb complement of speakers. So if people want to know what's going on in the industry, that's the place to be. Finally, we've got a forum on the second floor in the meeting rooms that's presented by Delta XD. It's all about digitization, and that's going to appeal to engineers that have design challenges in keeping fleets running with limited drawings or information. As the rolling stock gets older or is protected by copyrights and all the rest of it. It's very much a how to do it event that Delta XD are running. Yeah.
Which is what's needed. We spoke with West Midlands Metro the other week, and actually one of the points that the guys were talking about when they're working on the ground is that adaptation of technology.
Mm.
It's changing so quickly, even over a period of 12 months. There's a period of significant change in the new technology that's being adapted in identifying faults and maintenance and what have you. So it sounds like something that people really need to be aware of, doesn't it? So looking out wider into the market as a whole, where do you feel there's good opportunities from a rolling stock perspective over the next year?
That is a very good question and one that a lot of people ask. And this
It
is where being at rolling stock networking can make a real difference because you can get this information from the people that are there. There have undoubtedly been major changes in some, but no means all sectors, namely privatisation of the passenger carrying railway. But let's try and break that down a little. Freight is growing and is still in private hands. Open access operators are gaining traction, pun intended, on new services for passengers. The majority of trains are still not owned by the government and are unlikely ever to be. So it's only the day-to-day service operation of a single sector of the industry that has actually changed. The same people sit at the same desks with the everyday responsibilities of providing clean, reliable, comfortable services. So given this, day-to-day spend can't really change. Adding to this, the government has announced many regional investments only a couple of weeks ago, mostly in the north, so money is beginning to flow. Notably, it's still a fact that diesel trains are still running, net zero is still a government mantra. Technology improvements that are driven by this must materialise. The government now gains full responsibility for passenger services and reliability. That can only be delivered with budgets and purchase orders to the wider industry to support that. I think it's a wound up spring. It has to be released, but hopefully at a more measured and consistent pace than's been in the case with the past, with the boom and
Yes.
bust cycle that we've tended to see in the rail industry that everybody talks about. So let's hope that we see a little bit more common sense and a little bit more consistency.
I think what's interesting and exciting, especially from a rolling stock perspective as well, as you talk about that shift away from diesel, from a net zero perspective, and starting to see more battery operated and obviously hydrogen, not so much yet, but being tested more so than it was before. Do you see quite a shift in terms of the rolling stock environment?
It's already happening. I mean, if you look at the tenders that are out by that are in negotiation, that are still dripping through, they all look for tri-mode, bi-mode, different fuel sources. In Germany, they've got a hydrogen train running, or is it something else? I can't remember. But there are new technologies coming through that provide an alternative to diesel. And at the show, there are also people that are able to offer technologies that reduce the level of emissions that diesel trains produce. So, a happy medium where, for instance, where you've got a regional train that doesn't have a particular high passenger carrying demand, diesel trains still, to me, honestly, make some sense. And if you can clean the exhausts with the type of uh, products that companies like Eminox are producing, um, then you've got to have a cleaner railway. It's got to make sense to have a balance. Electrification of the railways through installing catenary everywhere is horrendously expensive. So there has to be a multiplicity of solutions to the overall problem.
It seems to be the case, especially when you're talking about steam trains being run on batteries presented at the front. I mean, that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and we've got a battery locomotive sitting right outside the door.
You talk about such a positive outlook from a rolling stock perspective, which is obviously fantastic. But we know for the rail industry as a whole, there's certainly challenging times for many companies at the moment, especially where there is uncertainties of work and delays to pipelines and things like that. Where does an event like RSN support business growth?
Hmm, that's also another good question, but it's also one where RSN can be very positive. Um, I've been in the industry for a very long time, perhaps. I mean, I remember walking into Metro Camel on the, what was it, the 29th of August 1977, which was 2 days before my birthday, as an apprentice, and I've been in the industry ever since. So I don't remember a time when the industry was not in a challenging period. 2004, 2005 was quite good. 2012, 2017 was good. But I
Mm.
don't necessarily accept that there's significant market uncertainty now. We do have visibility of many things. much depends on the quality of information that suppliers gather. And the place to do that's rolling stock networking. Certainly, pressure applied to the government by Railway Industry Association and Rail Forum does seem to have been heeded. And as I've said in the previous question, that the railway has to run every single day, which means continued spend every day on the services that the everyday railway needs. What is uncertain is the bonanza of new train orders that Hugh Merriman MP had committed to before the election. And if you remember, the election was on show day for 2024 for RSN, which was immense fun because we had to clear the hall and the arena had to be set up as a counting office. But we digress. So there were new trains that were destined for Northern, Southeastern, Chiltern, Transpennine, and they ran into several thousand carriages. And these orders appear to be uncertain. People in the industry tell me that some of them are still in negotiation. So do some trains for the London Underground services, which are on the cards, off the cards, on the cards. But nonetheless, they're needed now as much as they ever were, not just for the industry, but for the passengers and as a driver for economic growth in the general economy. Now, notably, Grand Central did order 9 new tri-mode trains. So again, we're into the net zero question. Piccadilly trains are being built by Siemens. There are 90 new Arterio trains that are destined for South Western Railway in production by Alstom. So if you take 90 trains, that's 750 vehicles in total. So regardless of now being in government control, private investment still seems to be central to government strategy, because I believe some of these vehicles are being financed by leasing companies such as Rock Rail. But moving on to some of the markets that are more easily accessible to the exhibitors at RSN, there are refurbishment and refreshment programs in place. East Midlands 170s are in a program of refurbishment that's now being carried out by Arriva Train Care. Class 707s are to be retrofitted with new toilets because they weren't originally fitted. Lumo are starting to run Class 222 trains, which are bound to have changes. Alstom are refurbishing cross-country Voyager fleet. So work is available, and it is important to keep on the pulse of opportunities. Being at RSN can help the supply chain to find these opportunities via colleagues in the industry network that's available at the show. There's more written into our show guide. Hard copies are available on the day. It actually contains a brilliant article on the outlook for rail that's been written by industry journalist Nigel Wordsworth. So it's well worth a read. Now, being a little pedantic, I did read a Facebook page that had been written by Keir Starmer, and I quote, "We're delivering on our promise to fix our broken railways, better services for passengers, better value for taxpayers. My government is rebuilding Britain." So if it's on Facebook, it's got to be dependable. We can all count on it. Now, getting to the real crux of politics, we've got the support of the government at the show. Baggy Shankar MP will be visiting, and so will Catherine Atkinson MP. Both are expected. Now, Catherine is a member of the Transport Committee, so I'm sure she's going to want to hear from exhibitors and find out what their views are on the outlook, the market, and all the rest of it. So, frankly, if there was a time to ensure your company was visible front and centre at events like RSN, it's now. There never's been a better time to position yourself to be ready to exploit what's now must be an emerging, growing market in rail.
Perfect. And where can people go to register?
Oh, that's easy. There's a button on the banner at the top of our homepage at www.rsnevents.co.uk that says register to visit RSN. It's free to attend. It's free to park. It's a short walk from Derby Station, I think about 10 minutes. It's central for all transport links, and we look forward to seeing everybody there.
Kevin, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Dan.
That was Kevin Lane of RSN. Kevin painted a very positive outlook of the rolling stock industry side of things anyway, especially during a time when things do seem to be quite challenging in the industry as a whole. But actually looking ahead and looking what opportunities there are available, sounds like it's a very positive outlook for rolling stock companies. So if you can and you're available on Thursday, I recommend you go down to Rolling Stock Networking in Derby at the Derby Arena. I've been there since the start, so very aware of how it's grown over the years and grown into such a fantastic event that I think everyone should be at. So make the most of the opportunities that are available to you. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Rail Industry Connected. You can view past and future episodes of Rail Industry Connected on YouTube or listen to them on your way into work on Spotify. And of course, you can connect with other rail businesses and the industry on railindustryconnect.co.uk. Thank you and see you next time.